First of all, he stands by it, but again, you're mischaracterizing what happened today. The bottom line is that the president said last night that he will be providing, that there would be additional information coming forward. There's a ton of media reports out there that indicate that something was going on during the 26th election.
I've been reading about things. I read in, I think it was January 20th, a New York Times article where they were talking about wiretapping. There was an article, I think they used that exact term. I read other things. I watched your friend Brett Baer the day previous, where he was talking about certain very complex sets of things happening and wiretapping.
I'll get to that in a second. Today, the Senate Intelligence Committee, both the chairman and the ranking member, actually they're both chairmen, actually, Burr and Warner, based on the information available to us, we see no indications that Trump Tower was the subject of surveillance by any element of the United States government, either before or after Election Day 2016. I have been referenced numerous times by the President and Sean Spicer for this question to Speaker Paul Ryan. There's a report that the June 2016, there's a FISA request by the Obama administration, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, to monitor communications involving Donald Trump and several other campaign officials. Then they get turned down, and then in October they renew it, and they do start a wiretap at Trump Tower with some computer and Russian banks, and it doesn't show up anything by reporting. Have you heard that?
None of us in Congress, or anybody that I know in Congress, has been presented with evidence to the contrary of what you just said.
So you believe it to be true?
Yeah, that we have seen no evidence that anybody in this campaign or any other American was in on it with the Russians to meddle in our elections. We know they meddled. Russia is an adversary, and that's something we have to work to counteract.
I got it. But my point is that the Obama administration was pretty aggressive. A couple of FISA requests.
No, I hear your point, but I'm saying, but I've seen nothing of that. I've seen nothing come of that. That's my point.
Okay, so here's how this all comes together. I'm getting ready for a pre-taped interview with the Speaker of the House. I'm going through what questions I'm going to ask. I see a Real Clear Politics write-up of a compilation of public reports that was put together by Mark Levin, the talk show host, radio talk show host, and it has very detailed references. So I'm thinking, well, I'm going to ask this to Speaker Ryan, and I'm probably going to cut it out because he's going to say, I don't know anything about that, and probably cut it out of the piece that we were going to air. Well, because Speaker Ryan answers the way he does, we leave it in, and that starts this whole thing when it comes to me. We're back with our panel. Eli, we watched the briefing today. They are saying that more is going to be released, but so far from Capitol Hill, we don't have any indication that anything happened.
And so far, everybody who has been asked about this, do you know of any evidence to support the president's claim in those tweets? They've all said, no, I do not. And, I mean, let's go back to the briefing today. It started an hour late. What was Sean Spicer doing? It appears that he was back behind closed doors compiling a bunch of news reports that he essentially used to filibuster the press. He read these news reports that he claimed backed up the president's claims. None of them did, but he read them for about 8 minutes and then became very combative with the press corps as he asked these things. Trump last night in the interview with Tucker Carlson said, a couple weeks you'll see more things coming out. But when Donald Trump is on stage last night saying, oh, I didn't mean air quotes in interviews, saying I put wiretap in quotes, I didn't really mean it literally, that's not usually the thing that you say if you're confident there are going to be things coming out to back up your claim. All right, Charles, we should be clear the semantics here. One, we have no confirmation of the FISA requests. Two, we expect the FBI and the Justice Department to come forward with more. They did meet privately with senators. Three, we're not saying that there's no surveillance at all and that some people may have been swept up in what was going on dealing with Russian agents or Russians in general. The president tweeted about President Obama ordering the wiretaps on Trump Tower. And there's semantics here.
Well, first of all, I think you need to stop bringing together complex things because it leaves the president rather flummoxed. He obviously was. Look, everybody in town, except for possibly the president, knows that there wasn't a wiretap, that is simply not true. You've got the leaders of the two intelligence committees, Democrats and Republicans, saying there is no evidence. You'll have nobody in the administration itself who will support the story. They all say, well, we have to investigate. look, I think they're way out on a limb. The president is just wasting time. At some point, they're going to have to admit this. You are right. It's not to say there might not have been improper handling of information swept up when you were, let's say, wiretapping the Russian ambassador. But the idea that there was a wiretap on Trump Tower ordered by the Democrats, by the administration of Obama, there is simply no evidence, and everyone knows that. I
want to play this soundbite really quickly. Mike Morell, former CIA director, about collusion.
On the question of the Trump campaign conspiring with the Russians here, there's smoke, but there's no fire at all. There's no little campfire, there's no little candle, there's no spark, and there's a lot of people looking for it.
And because we're dealing with all of this, that sometimes gets overlooked when people say that. Doug, I'd come to you, but I'm run out of time, and I didn't exclude you because you're the budget guy, I promise you. That's it.